Let's start with hip circles. Hip circles open up the mobility of your hip joint. It allows you to rotate through the super deep areas of your body in your hip in all directions. It allows you to get into the nooks and crannies and get the joint mobile. Do it to a depth that is comfortable. Keep the core engaged the whole time. If your knees don't like it, you can also stand and do hip circles. Make sure always to do both legs if I ever show one. This is helping you to get hip cars with a little bit of weights for a little bit extra, doing the rotation in the hip joints in a unilateral version. Keep your lower back pressed into the ground and core on. Keep your leg as deep as possible without rotating too much onto one side. Try to stay center. There will be a bit of movement. Take deep breaths, slow and controlled movements. Then moving out to the side, you will have again slight movements, but control it as much as possible, going deep with the glute activation and core as you do this. This exercise will open up your glutes. Firstly, placing your leg on a block, doing some nice core back strengthening activities whilst you're getting a hip stretch. Then you will activate through the back leg and glute, and you will then push your heel back as you tuck your toe, lifting up to lengthen and straighten. This will make sure that you have a very strong hip and glute baseline. Please make sure never to do it if it is hurting your knee, and also check the height that is best for you. Here I'm activating into a straddle. I'm working to get my pelvis, belly button, ribs, then chest down. Here I'm sliding in and out. You only go to the depth that creates this movement, no rounding of the back. I'm squeezing my glutes to turn my feet backwards as I go. The feet are on the blocks to create a little bit more height, to create a little bit more space in my body. You can do it with your feet off the blocks. Then you can also work with regards to doing this with your hands in the air, creating more core strength, making sure you're tilting the glutes up towards the air, so you're doing the ability to work through the hip joint, not just the legs moving. There are a couple of exercises here. If you don't have the full split yet, this is a great opportunity to work with a block, because you're actually building that ability to get that flat line, so you don't have to have the full splits to do this. Firstly, I do a half split with my knee as a half frog on the block for around 30 seconds to a minute, rocking back and forth. Then I will change it to my foot under the block, holding it there for around 30 seconds to a minute. So each side of the body gets this same approach, making sure you're rocking back and forward, keeping the core engaged as you do it. Now I'm sliding in and out of the splits with support of my feet, my knees on this block to create the rotation and mobility in my joint. This helps you to get full range of mobility, glute strength, and also the ability to be able to move the joint more freely, which is what we ideally want in the long term. This exercise is fantastic for a nice hold isometrically, using the ankle weights and also the band to create a little extra pressure, breathing in deep, keeping the lower back on the ground, squeezing your glutes, turning your feet out. Now I'm doing some pulses, activating it through active flexibility and using my glutes more. I will do that with the support of my hands on the band, and then I will go to my full depth without any support and just using my muscle activation here. This exercise is a great way to get into the hip joint, which you're seeing straight in front of you. Having the foot slightly bent, it can be even more bent. You are going to feel that right at the hip socket. You're going to get a straddle leg on one side, and then this is creating where that sticky point is on your hip that often lacks mobility and rotation. Here also into the hip flexor area. I'm keeping my back as straight as possible as I go down, rotating in my hips, going up and back, but there is a slight bend because it's such a difficult exercise for me. Lastly, after I've done all of that work, I tend to just go back and open up into my hips a little bit deeper with using a block. I'm working to keep my knee into my armpit, and I'm pushing my leg down, keeping my hips as center as possible on the block. There is a little bit of movement to one side, and this will create an open hip mobility. Also great if you are working towards having your body in a leg behind the head position. You've got to really keep that active squeeze in on the glute.